Hey everybody, what's up? Man, busy week around here. Just trying to get caught up on all these fishing moment lake map breakdowns because I'm heading out this weekend for our first Bassmaster Central Open on Smith Lake in Alabama. So I got a lot of tackle work to do this week, got a lot of map work, so busy week all the way around. But hey, I had to run a couple errands in town here. Just wanted to take a couple minutes and do today's continuation of my Honoring the Legends series. And today I'm going to talk about, man, probably one of the most influential dudes and been around forever. A lot of people, you know, if you're my age, you probably know him. If you're younger than me, you may not. And that's Harold Ensley. And I got to tell you guys about Harold Ensley because, man, he, like I said, he has had a big influence on my entire formative years in fishing and true pioneer of the sport. But Harold Ensley, if you guys aren't familiar with him, he had a really popular television show, one of the first out there, called The Sportsman's Friend, back in the 60s and 70s, and I don't know, maybe even into the early 80s, I'm not sure, but the times that I was watching him was when I was a little kid, like grade school, and, you know, grade school type kid, really, in the early 70s. That's when I was seeing him. And Harold was like, you know, he actually was from this hometown I was in Joplin, Missouri, so had a little bit of a interesting for like that. But anyway, Harold would go out there, and the energy of his show was really cool. He had like a cool little den lodge type thing, and he'd always have like a fire going in the background when he started his show out. And he'd usually have his tackle out in the room, like he'd have his tackle box out there and his reels, and he was showing you what he was fishing with and that type of stuff. And then he'd take you to the video he shot, which was all over the country. And he did a lot of stuff in Canada. And he'd go up there with jigs and these things called reapers and a spinning rod, and he'd catch these big 20 and 30 pound lake trout, and you'd see him fighting them out of these little V-bottom aluminum boats. And there was no sound in the video, and he'd always just talk over and narrate the video. So man, it was just like, I thought he was the greatest fisherman in the world because he was always catching big ones, and he was just really down to earth. And I was so into Harold Ensley. This is how much I was into him. I remember back when I was a little kid, you know, in grade school again, and I never did like to get up early, so mom and dad would always have to really have a hard time waking me up. And mom got into the habit where I slept upstairs, and she would yell, or not yell, but she would, you know, sort of, you know, talk loud a little bit when I wouldn't get up. And she'd go, "Randy," she goes, "Harold Ensley's down here in the kitchen." And I would jump out of bed and I would run downstairs, and it's like, oh man, he's not here. So that's how much I was into Harold Ensley when I was a little kid, is he could actually get me out of bed, you know, to go to school. So Harold, it's you know, I watched his shows the whole time growing up and everything, and it was an interesting deal because one of the last seminars that I actually did, it was a seminar at a big school up in Kansas City, Missouri, and this was probably back in the man, this had to be sometime in the mid to late 90s. And anyway, I did this seminar up there, and it just so happened Harold Ensley was at this seminar. And I couldn't believe it because Harold, at the time he was at this seminar, he was like 92 years old or something like that. And I got a chance to sit down and hang out with him for like an hour and talk to him. And I was just like in heaven because here was my childhood hero, you know, Harold Ensley, and I'm getting to talk to him. And it just floored me because I couldn't believe it because, you know, he knew who I was from tournaments. So I'm just like in awe talking to this dude, and I'm just like on hog heaven. I can't believe Harold Ensley knows who I am. And I sat there and had a chance to have a really good conversation with him. And I think he passed away like the next year after that. So I got really fortunate to actually get a meeting one time on that. But he was one of the original dudes that was sponsored by a non-fishing industry company. He was sponsored by Ford Motor Company for years. He had that red station wagon that said The Sportsman's Friend on it. And he was pretty good friends with Sam Walton back when Walmart just got started. So he would go to these Walmart stores and he would bring in a cooler of crappie or everything, and he'd give these crappie filleting demonstrations there at Walmart, do promos. So, you know, he was been in it for a long time. But man, anyway, that's today's honoring this guy, Harold Ensley, sportsman's friend, man, an icon in the sport early on in the days. Like I said, if you guys are younger, you may or may not know who he is, but man, you could probably Google him. Just Google Harold Ensley and go check out some of his shows, because I'm sure it's on YouTube or something like that. But man, that dude had a big impact on me. I'm telling you, he had a big impact on me getting interested in fishing, and the energy that he put out on these TV shows for some reason resonated with me and got me just fanatical about fishing. So sort of a special guy in my mind, in my world of fishing, Harold Ensley. So that's who we're talking about today. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in to these legend clips. Appreciate it, and we'll be back soon with another one. See ya.